Okay. Can I have your attention, please? Hi. For those few of you who I don't already know, my name is Scott Blake Harris, and I am the chair of the WRC-15 Industry Advisory Committee. And welcome to our third meeting of the Advisory Committee. The first one in 2013, as you all know. Our last meeting was in October of 2012. Our WAC Secretary, Donna Christensen, is off on a well-deserved vacation today, so we are joined by Janice Shields, who will fill in. After talking to Janice, I realized that she was with us when we founded the International Bureau back in 1998. I wasn't going to say that publicly so as not to embarrass her, but it is great to have Janice with us. So for this meeting, we are going to go over the work that the IWGs have done to date. I just want to say before we get started that the progress by all of the working groups has been nothing short of spectacular. We've largely completed the development of preliminary views, and we're ready to move on to the development of proposals for WRC-15. The process has gone smoothly. You guys have worked together really well, and I think the process could not have been proceeding better than it has to date. So with that, let's get some of the preliminaries out of the way. Look at the agenda for this meeting. That's WAC document 031. I see you all quickly going through your packs of documents. Does anyone have any comments on the agenda for today's meeting? Hearing none, we will consider that agenda approved. Next, I'd like you to turn to the approval of the minutes of our last meeting. That is document WAC 028. You all take a minute to just skim through those. You're not all skimming, I'm just saying. All right. Do we have any comments on the minutes of the last meeting? Hearing none, we'll consider those minutes approved. And now we'll get down to work. We'll turn to the Ntia draft preliminary views and proposals. And with that, I'll turn to my friend and colleague, Diane Cornell.
Thank you, Scott. Of course, our colleagues on the federal side have been making very good progress as well in preparation for the conference. In the interim, since our last meeting, we received additional input from Ntia, provided for our consideration for this committee in documents WAC 029, 030, 032, and 033. The relevant informal working groups have already considered these inputs and will be reporting on the progress of their work addressing these inputs during this meeting. So first I'd like to turn to Darlene Drazanovich from Ntia to update the committee, if she could please, on progress from the federal agency perspective.
Yes, thank you very much. The RCS will meet again next week, the March 12th, and at which time we'll be reviewing the preliminary views coming from this meeting and from the FCC. And I believe this upcoming CTEL meeting will have plenty of time to reconcile between FCC and NTIA on any preliminary views and proposals. The first suspense date to get documents in for translation is before March 25th. And it's kind of funny noting that March 25th is on a Monday, so I guess it means we'd have to get them in by the Sunday before. And then, which I won't be working, Alex, I don't know about you, but we'll try to complete the work on the Friday before, I think. And then if you have it already translated, I believe it was April 1st was the next suspense date. So I'm glad that we have a little bit more breathing room this time, and that also allows you the time you need for, the public notice review. So I'm grateful for that. And we look forward to working with you and to reconciling with the FCC. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. So the inputs from NTIA and RCS will be addressed in the context of the individual IWG reports. so we can take any comments on them in the context of those reports. And so now we'll move on to reports from the informal working groups, the IWGs, with respect to the preliminary views and draft proposals. So first, I'd like to invite the chair of IWG1, Audrey Allison from Boeing, to report on IWG1's progress. Thanks.
Thank you, Diane. Good morning, everyone. I'm here from IWG1. We are the SMART group. That's space, maritime, aeronautical, automotive, radar, and even time. So we bring, I'm getting disdain from the other chairs. We have met 3 times since the past WAC meeting, I'm happy to say, and we've got 2 documents for your consideration today. One's a draft proposal and one's a draft preliminary view. So starting off first with agenda item 113, that's a draft proposal on the agenda item 113 concerning the distance limitation for proximity operations by space vehicles communicating with orbiting manned space vehicles. This is exactly the same text as is noted in the previous agenda item. It's based on the Ntia draft proposal on this agenda item. We have reviewed and accepted it in IWG1, and we recommend that the WAC approve this draft proposal. It's in document 37.
Thank you, Audrey. Are there any comments on the document? Okay, in the absence of comments, we declare it approved.
Thank you.
Audrey?
Okay, next, here's a draft preliminary view on one of our maritime items, agenda item 1.16, concerning automatic identification system technology, AIS. And you'll see the draft preliminary view before you in document 38. This is one we developed in-house. The U.S. supports studies to address potential terrestrial and satellite communication systems, and also supports completion of studies and the development of an international standard for prospective new VDES. So we present that for your approval.
Are there any comments on WAC document 038? Hearing none, we also declare that approved.
Well, thank you. My last comment is to announce our next meeting. We're going to await the conclusion of CTEL and the next round of working parties, and we'll meet on June 4th at 9 a.m., and that will be announced soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Audrey. Okay, moving on now to IWG2. If I could invite Charlie Rush from TMG to report on IWG2 progress. Thanks, Charlie.
Good morning, august people at the table, and to all you out in the seats in front of me. Good morning, and I'm glad that you have been.
They're august too. But
you're august especially because it's not even August. And I'm glad that there are enough people out in the audience here today. One would not have believed this to be the case on Tuesday night, but Wednesday has shown itself to be a lie. I have 3 documents for your consideration for approval. One of those documents is a document that addresses one of the NTIA comments that we received, and I have an additional comment to make on another on the other NTIA comment. First document that I would like to put forward for your consideration is document WAC 34. It's a preliminary view concerning the agenda item 1.1, which is the agenda item looking for additional spectrum to support mobile broadband as well as IMT. And it is, in this particular document, addresses one frequency band, the band between 1435 and 1525 megahertz. And this is a frequency band that is of vital importance to the United States commercial and government interests with regard to aeronautical mobile telemetry. It's a cornerstone to the flight support for our aircraft industry. It is also a band that I personally can attest to, that the United States has been at the forefront of defending since at least WRC 92. And it is a band that we have an allocation that protects our interests in footnote 344 and in 343. And I won't go into all the excruciating details. I think they're highlighted quite nicely in the background. But suffice it to say that the United States feels strongly that it needs to retain the priority that the aeronautical mobile telemetry has over the mobile service in Region 2, as found in footnote 343. And also there is the footnote that is one of the few, if perhaps the only, alternate footnote for the United States, 344, that provides the needed protection. We don't have any objection to other regions of the world looking at this band for possible IMT utilization. However, we want to make sure that whatever gets decided with regard to this band protects the U.S. interest in Region 2. And with that, I'll just turn this over to you for your consideration for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Are there any comments on this WAC document? Okay, in the absence of comments, it's declared approved.
Okay, thank you. The next document I want to address is a document dealing with the 1695, the 1710 band. It's WAC 35, but it also relates to the document that we received from NTIA WAC 30. And what we have here is a document that basically provides what I would hope are inconsequential edits to the NTIA document, even though it appears to be much more voluminous than just a simple statement like that would garner. This particular band is a band that NTIA identified early on as being possible band for consideration to support mobile broadband and IMT, 1695 to 1710. It's also a band that has been studied extensively by a group of representatives from the industry and from government under the auspices of NTIA's CSMAC, the Commerce Spectrum Management Advisory Committee. And that group has essentially done further studies than were available at the time, I'm assuming at the time that the NTIA or the RCS version of the document was completed. And what we are attempting to do with this with document 35 is to add in the results of the CSMAC group that undertook to do studies in this band. And incidentally, that report of that group was approved on the same day as our last meeting of IWG-2. And so what you see here is the red line and the more recent studies that are referred to at the beginning of the edition refers to the CSMAC results. And I believe that's very much consistent with what it is that's contained within in that document. And with regard to the U.S. view, we made a few changes. And I hope that the RCS will view them as being non-controversial. The allocation to the mobile service in and around in the band of interest is to mobile, with the exception of aeronautical mobile. And the allocation that we're really looking for is between 1695 and 1710, because there is already a mobile, except aeronautical mobile allocation between 1700 and 1710. And with that, I'll turn this over to you for consideration for approval of this document, knowing that it is a suggested change to the RCS document. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Any comments on this document? Okay, hearing none, deem it approved.
Okay, thank you so much. My last preliminary view is a document, again, addressing Agenda Item 1.1, that's calling for additional studies related to the band 5350, the 4770 megahertz. It's in 5 gigahertz band. And here we are looking for additional spectrum or studies to be undertaken with the view of providing additional spectrum that can be used to support the R-LAN activities that are already being undertaken in the band 5150 to 5350 and 5470, 5725. And it's easy for me to just say this because I have it in front of me. What we're talking about is looking at the band that fits between those two bands so that we would have a complete 5150 to 5725 band that would be available for R-LAN operations. We point out that the two bands that are already considered for already under the mobile allocation are subject to Resolution 229, and that was modified at WRC 12. It would be expected that since the incumbents in the proposed band for study are the same as the incumbents in the two other bands that already fall under the rubric of Res 229, that the same regulatory provisions would apply. And so with that, I'll just ask you to consider adoption of this preliminary bill.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. Are there any comments on WAC document 36? Okay, thank you. Deem that one approved as well.
Okay, the other issues that I need to address, I guess, are the comments with regard to NTIA's comments. I hope that I have cleared up the issue or addressed the issue in the 1695-1710 band. The other item is agenda item 1.4, which is calls for a secondary allocation to the amateur service in the band 5.25 to 5.45 megahertz. And 5.25 to 5.45 megahertz. Isn't it? I thought it was 50 to 50 kilohertz. That's 5.25 megahertz.
I'm glad you guys are no better with the decimal points than I am. It makes me feel much better.
Well, I wanted to make the point that I chose 5.25 and 5.45 megahertz as my introduction to this, because the issue that appears that is being addressed with regard to a difference between the RCS view and the industry view is a matter of kilohertz. The NTIA RCS feels that 15 kilohertz is adequate. The industry is asking for 10 times that much. So we are both talking about the same band. We are both talking about an additional allocation to the amateur service on a secondary basis. It's just a matter of a few kilohertz out of 200 out of a 5 megahertz band. So I believe that the parties are talking and trying to resolve their differences, and hopefully we'll be able to report some progress sometime in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Any other comments? Okay. With that, I'll turn it over to Scott for the next IWGs.
Great. We'll turn to Wg3 Space Services. I gather Jack Wengrenek is not here today, but that Kim Baum of SES is going to present in his place.
Okay, good morning, everyone. IWG3 does not have any documents to present today. but we have been busy. We've developed preliminary views on all of our agenda items or supported RCS versions of preliminary views. And we've held 3 meetings since the last WAC. And we're starting to look forward. We're thinking about proposals. And in that regard, we have a proposal on agenda item 1.10 under development. And that's the agenda item dealing with potentially additional MSS allocations in the 22 to 26 gigahertz frequency range. So we have a version that I think a lot of folks are comfortable with in IWG3, but we want to wait until after the next round of ITU working party meetings before we finalize it. So we'd encourage everyone to come to our meetings with proposals where appropriate. And our next meeting is scheduled after a bunch of working party meetings, and it's scheduled for June 5th at 11 a.m.
Great. Thank you. Anyone have any comments about IWG3? Okay. Thank you, Kim.
Thanks.
Let's turn to IWG4, regulatory issues. And I'd like to invite the chair of IWG4, Steve Baruch of Lerman Center, to report on IWG4 progress.
Okay. Well, thank you, Scott. Good morning. IWG4, like IWG3, has had 3 meetings since the last WAC meeting. And I think I mentioned last time we were the caboose on the train, so we're actually starting to bring some of our preliminary views to you. I will note before I get into those that we have begun consideration of proposals. We have one proposal for agenda item 7 from Ntia RCS that we received just before our last meeting and have that under consideration. So we too will have material most likely on proposals for the forthcoming WAC meeting in September. So turning to that, we have 3 preliminary views, actually 2 of our own and comments on one from Ntia RCS for you this morning. The first one up is in WAC document 39. This is on agenda item 9.1.4. This is one of the group of agenda items that was categorized under agenda item 9.1 by the CPM. Here, it is the view on Resolution 67 of our group and hopefully of the United States that there's no justification to engage in an expansive revision of the radio regulations that's discussed in that resolution. So we have that view for you this morning.
Good. Any comments on document WAC 39? Hearing none, we'll consider that approved.
Okay, thank you. Next one up is also from our group. This is WAC document 40, and this is on agenda item 9.1.2 with respect to possible reduction of the coordination arc under resolution 756, excuse me. And in this case, I want to note that this is our second preliminary view on this particular agenda item. We have one that has been through this group and reconciled and sent to the fall CTEL meeting with respect to the KA band. This preliminary view is with respect to potential reductions in the coordination arc in the C band and KU band FSS frequencies. And here we are supporting a reduction of 2 degrees in the coordination arc in the radio regulations in each of those areas. That's our preliminary view. And I offer that document now, WAC 40, for your consideration.
Thank you, Steve. Any comments on document WAC 40? Hearing none, we'll treat that document as approved.
Okay. Thank you. And then finally, we have document WAC 41. What we've done in this document is to take the NTIA RCS preliminary view that we received in document WAC 33 that was introduced earlier in this meeting and offer some comments and constructive suggestions for this draft preliminary view. I will note that the views expressed on the industry side in the WAC were not particularly different from the views in the RCS document. They just come at it and offer some clarification and elaboration, mostly to emphasize that this document, this particular agenda item, is looking toward establishment of an agenda item for nano and pico satellites for Work 18, and that the mandate or the obligation for WRC-15 is considerably more limited. In other words, should the studies be initiated for Work 18. So we provide some comments to that end on the NTIA version, and hopefully that'll be a good clarification that can go forward. So with that, I offer you document WAC 41 for your consideration.
Steve, thank you. Do I hear any comments on document WAC 41? Hearing none, we'll treat that document as approved.
Okay. And then finally, I just want to mention that the next meeting of IWG4 has been scheduled by the group, at least, not officially noticed, for June 5th at 1:30 in the afternoon. That's the same day as the IWG3 meeting, and like IWG3, it's our view that we should await the results of the spring block of ITUR meetings to progress our work. So with that, I conclude my report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Steve. So this is all going way too fast for those of you billing by the hour, and I really apologize for that. So let's talk briefly about future meetings. If you take a look at WAC document number 4, we have an updated timeline for our committee's work. The third meeting of this committee is set for September 19th. We are trying to take into account relevant international meetings and also allow the IWG's time to advance the development of our recommendations. If you also take a look, the WRC-15 preparatory timeline is document 4, and we have set our meeting for September 19th at 11 a.m. Any comments on the timeline or anything else we've talked about so far? The meeting's not on the timeline. Did I say third? I meant fourth. I apologize. I can't count. That's duly noted. Other comments on anything we've covered so far? Any new business? Charlie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not new business, but other business. I'd just like to announce that the next meeting of IWG2 is June the 12th. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. Any other business? Anything else anyone would like to talk about? Again, thank you all. Again, this process has gone smoothly and efficiently. You should all be very proud of yourselves. You've done great work. And now you can go off and go back to work. Thank you all.